Rev up your engines!
You might not realize it, but there's over 780,000 cars and trucks stolen in the United States every year. If you don't want to be on this list, here's the top 10. How many were stolen? Maybe you don't want to buy one of these. They're stolen all the time. Number 1 was the 2018 GMC Sierra, of which 1,170 were stolen. Number 2 is the Ford F-Series, which is 1,017 of those were stolen. Number 3 is the Toyota Camry, 976 were stolen. They're good cars, but people steal them because I guess they like them. Number 4 is the 2018 Nissan Altima, of which 912 were stolen. Hey, if I was going to steal a car, that'd be one of the last cars I'd steal. They're piles of junk. They fall apart. Number 5 was the Chevy Silverado, 790 were stolen because, you know, trucks are popular. Can use them for parts for fixing other trucks. There's a lot of reasons for that. Number 6 was the 2018 Hyundai Elantra, 775 were stolen. Number 7 was the Ford Transit van. I guess people that want a big van so they can put stuff in, 723 of them were stolen. Number 8, 2018 Dodge Charger, 719. I guess if it's a fast getaway, you're going to rob a bank, you're going to take one of those. And number 9 was the 2018 Toyota Corolla, 699 were stolen. They're popular cars. And the last one, number 10, is the 2018 Chevy Malibu. Now you know the top 10 vehicles that were stolen last year in the United States. There's a lot of stealing going on. Fiat Low says turbo or V8 engines. Well, if you want something that lasts the longest, get a V8 engine that's normally aspirated. No turbo, no supercharger, no GDI, just plain old fuel injection or carburetor if it's an old one. The less strain an engine has, the longer it's going to last. And a V8 revs less than a small engine. Ford and their Mustang, they got a 4-cylinder turbocharged GDI monstrosity, and for a 4-cylinder puts out 300 some horsepower, but it's not going to last like a V8 engine will because it's straining, it's revving higher. If you want long life, a V8 engine, you can't beat it. Modern cars, they're going for smaller engines than turbocharging. It's cheaper to make a smaller engine and then just stick a turbo on it. So it's only going to be going that as time goes on. It's kind of absurd because they make the smaller ones for gas mileage ratings, and that's all done on a dynamometer. A lot of it isn't real. Like, say if you get one of those Chevy pickups now that has a 4-cylinder engine in it, the rating gas mileage is a joke because if you took that 4-cylinder one, like somebody I know they did, and they tested it and they loaded it up and towed big loads, it actually got worse gas mileage than the V8 engine did towing a load because it can't take that load and heavy weight like a V8 engine can. Ronu says, does white thing on my oil cap mean I have head gasket blown? Not necessarily. When you burn gasoline, which is nothing but hydrogen and carbon, in Earth's atmosphere, one of the byproducts is water vapor. If you don't drive your car that much, the water vapor can build up inside the engine, and then some of the condensation will get on the inside of your oil cap, so when you take it off, you see a little bit of white goo in there. If you don't drive that many miles, that often going to occur on cars that aren't driven much. I've got older customers, some of them drive like 500 miles a year. And invariably when I take off the cap, there's white goo in there because it just doesn't get rid of it. If you drive normally, especially a lot on the highway, all that heat of driving on the highway, it vaporizes all that water vapor inside the engine and it doesn't have any problems. If you're curious, yes, do the head gasket test. I have a video, how to tell if your head gasket's blown. You can buy the kit for 30 bucks, give it a wang, see what happens. But a lot of times that's just normal if you don't drive that much. Warren Agaki, what do you think about BG additives? BG's a very good company. They make an excellent cleaner for cleaning fuel injectors. Now realize, don't get caught into the suckerdom of, I got to keep putting additives in. Most cars, the gasoline that's in the pump has all kinds of additives. By law in the United States, they don't really need additives. They'll run perfectly fine the way they're running. But if you got dirty fuel injectors from a car, say you bought a used one, guy put in cheap gas, didn't take care of it, you put a can of that BG in. I had a customer last year, had a Toyota Corolla, he bought used for like 500 bucks. And I told him, I said, well, the fuel injectors are weak. Why don't you try cleaning them? And all he did was go out and buy one of those little pint bottles of BG cleaner. He put it in a gas tank, and then he brought it and he said, well, look, it's running a lot better now. And I hooked up my machine and I saw that the fuel injectors were actually firing better now. It had cleaned them out so well. So BG does make good products. There's no arguing that, but don't get caught in that circular fight of, you got to add some more additives, add some more additives, put them in every so many miles. That's a bunch of nonsense. You really don't have to do it on most modern cars. Cameron D says, Scotty, are Korean vehicles more reliable than they used to be? Well, yes, they are. But you got to take into consideration that they used to be little piles of junk junk that were totally unreliable. They do make better cars. They're making them so that they holding up better. They also make them bigger engines, more luxurious cars. They're kind of defeating the purpose of what they had. Originally, I tell people, look, if you want a really dirt cheap car, you could buy a new Kia, maybe drive it 100,000 miles and not have any problems. The last time I checked, the difference between the Kias and the Toyotas in similar body styles and engines was less than $1,000 for the starting price. So I'd pay the extra grand myself and get a Toyota rather than buy one of those. They're not as cheap as they used to be. Their prices are catching up. And their whole thing was they were a cheaper car. And yeah, they didn't last as long. They didn't ride as well, but they cost a lot less. And today, do a little pricing before you buy a car, and if you find there's not that much difference, I looked up something the other day which totally shocked me. The last year, this year, 2019, that they sold the Fiat 500s in the United States, a base Fiat 500 was only $1,000 cheaper than a Toyota Corolla. Now, why would you buy one of these Fiat pile of junk Fiat 500s when you get a Corolla for like $1,000 more? It was $900 something. You wouldn't if you had any common sense. Hyundai, always known for making cars that are kind of clunky and noisy, is now working on active noise control, ANC, to cancel the noise that the vehicle makes. Well, they picked a good vehicle for canceling the noise. The problem with noise cancellation in cars is changes of noise. The noise is always changing. Like if you want active noise cancellation inside your room of a house or something, it's pretty easy. The noise is pretty much the same all the time. Air conditioning, whatever. But in a car, you're driving on different surfaces. Wind comes from different other vehicles go by. So it's a pretty complicated thing to do active noise cancellation in a car that's moving down a road. It's got a microphone inside and it wants to make certain areas quiet, sending sounds through the speaker system to quiet things down where you are, where the people are. And the system actually can cancel the sound differently for the passengers, the drivers, the people in the back too, because sound reaches different areas at different times. I say the speed of sound, it's pretty fast, but still there's a difference between the guy in the front and the guy in the back and the sounds that are coming out. The guy in the back is going to get sounds from the back tires first. So far they've been able to cancel the noise in half to lower it down to 3 decibels. And that's their high-end fleet. Now, I mean, for the last few years, they've called them Genesis themselves. They're calling them a whole brand, even though they're still made by the same company. They just decided to brand out Genesis just like Toyota did Lexus because they're higher-end cars. So they're working at it. Rather than building the cars so they don't make that much noise, they're going to try to figure out how to cancel the noise inside them. Which is the opposite of what they're doing with electric cars. They're trying to make the electric cars make more noise outside so people can hear them and they don't get in wrecks. So here we go, the opposition. Now we're trying to make it quieter on the inside on these cars by using active noise cancellation instead of putting more insulation and trying to keep the noise from getting inside and building them heavier and more solid. They're going to try to cancel the noise that exists. I can't wait till they get one out. I'm going to try it out. Edwin Jenkins says, hey, what do you think of a Volkswagen CC Lux 2011 2.0 Turbo? My transmission is broken. Is it a good idea to replace it or should I get rid of it? Get rid of that pile of junk. They are absolute crap wagons. I've always told people those transmissions they put in those things are horrendous. Yours is broken. It costs a fortune to fix it correctly. I've had people spend $5 to $7 grand having those transmission fixed. Now, you're going to get nothing for it because the transmission isn't working if you sell it. You might do what some people do. Here in Houston, a lot of junkyards. If you could find a used transmission and find somebody in one of these shops that's in the middle of nowhere where they have illegal aliens a lot of times working and they don't pay them that much, you might find that you could get a transmission installed for maybe $500. And if you can get one cheap, you might just put one in and sell it then because it runs. Because you're not going to get anything for it now. But don't even think about fixing it to drive it yourself because they're piles of junk. And as you've seen, it's 2011, the transmission went out. It costs so much money to fix them. And don't buy another one. Learn a good lesson. Do not buy another Volkswagen. Amen. Scotty, I have a 1995 Nissan Maxima with 163,000 miles. The other day, I drove on a street and the car got to operating poorly. The temperature was halfway, but then all of a sudden, when I got going 65, it went down to about 30%. What's wrong? Just change the thermostat, because the thermostat is sticking open. When you go fast, it's going to run too cold. Running too cold is bad for your engine bearings. You want it to run halfway. So change the thermostat. Now, that might fix everything, because if your car runs too cold, it can make it run poorly too now. If that only fixes the temperature and it still runs bad, then you got another problem. Get it scanned, try to figure out what's wrong. But the running too cool is bad for it, and change the thermostat. Maybe they'll fix all your problems. You never know. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.